Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to dive into one man's journey to tell his story, not only through writing, but the world of movies, motion pictures, full length movies. You know, this is so funny. I didn't even know the difference between a short film and a full length film until just a second ago. But more importantly, I'm amazed because these movies, it's 8 of them. We're going to talk about all 8 of them today and the reasoning for each one of them. Because with every movie that somebody creates, there's always a behind the scenes. Like, what really drew that person to write that particular movie? What was it based on life experience? Like, what is it? But today we're going to get into the mind of how 8 beautiful movies came to be from not only just a movie producer, but a minority owned doctor himself. I'd like to welcome to the show Dr. Don Jerome Brown. How you doing, big guy?
Hey, doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Man, I'm looking at your bio. Military, PhD, movie producer, writer, director. Okay, I'm gonna start calling you Steven Spielberg.
I wish you could send over some of them dollars and I'll take
With a
it.
resume like that, that's crazy. But before we get started, Dr. Brown, tell the viewers a little bit about you.
Yes, yes. Well, I would be remiss not to say that I'm not real big on titles, but probably the two titles that I hold most dear to my heart are parent and husband.
Okay.
And so, with all of those things being said and all of those things being lined up, that becomes the foundation of who I am.
Now you mentioned wife, husband. How long you been married?
How long have I been married? 30 years? No. No, actually, my wife and I have only been married for a year since 2 Sundays ago.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're from Columbia, South Carolina. Your roots lie heavily in South Carolina. Tell me what was it like growing up for you as a young man in South Carolina?
There were some tough times. There were 8 of us siblings, and 10 counting my parents. We were in a little small home in Barnwell, just filled with love and happiness. I was number 8. I was number 7 of 8, and I was always that ambitious one who had to go above and beyond what was perceived as the norm. Mm. And so that sort of motivated me to do so many other things. Basketball, football, track, poetry, an artist, freehand artist. Then I got into the whole acting thing. So yeah, and it was challenging because I had to create some things because we didn't have no money.
When you say the norm, in that generation time span, what was considered the norm for a man of color?
To stay out of jail, stay out of trouble, stay in school, obey your parents, obey those who were older than you, obey the principles. It wasn't like it is today. We're not even going to go down that road because this is a whole new show.
It sounds more like that generation dealt with commandments versus this generation. Elaborate on that a little bit. You do have a PhD. You see a different generation, but what was that like compared to how you were raised?
Well, I would have to say 2 words: the village and respect. It meant nothing to, if you misbehave, you get your butt whipped. and then you get home, you get your butt
Got
whipped
another one.
again,
Yeah.
for showing out and embarrassing the parents because somebody else had to whip your butt. But in today's society, you hear or read about a 16-year-old just shot somebody in the chest, a 34-year-old man in the parking lot, and you tell one of these kids to pull up their pants and, they pull out a gun, so, yeah, there is no more the village to raise the child in our society, unfortunately, and that respect is just gone.
Who was your village? Like you mentioned, you was one of those young men that was clearly ambitious, and basically knew that at a young age, I guess you would say you kind of knew your purpose and your sense of direction. But who was your tribe that made sure that you stayed focused?
Well, my siblings was a tribe within itself, being that there was 8 of us, and I was number 7. And so, uh, and my parents were the epitome of "to death do you part." They were together for 40 plus years before he passed away. My dad passed away, and so that makes a big difference because so many children in our society and these new millennials, they come from broken homes. They don't
Mhm.
have the man in your face to keep you straight.
When you say the man in your face, I assume your father was a really, really big influence in your life and making sure that you stayed on track.
So you can put a comma after big. My father was really, really big, and and then you can go and the influence was that he was that strong, silent type. He was quiet, and he used to whenever he used to administer punishment. I'll put it that way. He was so big. He used to pick us up by one arm, and
Wow.
so we couldn't run. You might be moving your legs, but you wasn't going nowhere because he was whipping butt.
When you as your life started to evolve into high school and stuff, I looked at your military career and you said you served both Army and Air Force. What led you
Yes.
to the military, and more importantly, what was the reasons that you switched? You stayed in, but you switched careers.
So as I was growing up and going through high school, I was in the ROTC program, and as I examined my opportunities beyond high school, college, technical school, job, whatever, I kind of got caught up in the whole commercial, be all that you can be, and you watching Rambo and thinking that you can go and blow up all kind of stuff, fly helicopters and thinking that you're going to be this great whatever it is you qualify for. And when I went into Army, I became a mechanic, and I remember our sergeant major bringing us in the auditorium, and he said, "Where are all my mechanics at?" Hands went up. Where are my drivers, truck drivers, communication, and all this stuff? And so once he exhausted all of the list of names, he said, "Now I want you to forget that, and I won't use the language."
Mhm.
He said, "If you think you're anything less than a trained killer, you need to go and process out right now." And everybody was just stunned. We were all quiet, like, "Wait a minute, what?" Like reality hitting you in the face, like yeah, you might be trained to become a mechanic, but when the balloon goes up, you're a trained killer. Period. Killed or be
Elaborate,
killed. Preserve life.
ela-
Our
elaborate a little bit
our
more on
people.
that. Elaborate a little bit more on that, because I never heard that, and I remember taking ROTC in junior high school, and it just, I don't know. I guess I couldn't deal with somebody yelling at me and talking crazy. So, so the guy was like, I'm not gonna. I remember the what you call it, sergeant major, whatever they are in the ROTC. He was like, he put me into his office, and he was like, "I'm gonna give you a C versus an F because if you decide you want to go into the military, if I give you an F, it will reflect." But I never did. But just go back a little bit. What do you think the reason was for him calling out all of these different occupations in the military, then all of a sudden change the narrative to something that probably caught you guys off guard?
So I think the motivation was such that there's a facade when you go into the military that you're going to become this great, whatever it is you sign up to be, a mechanic, communication specialist, and you're just going to get out and attack the world, and everybody's going to want to hire you. And I guess this sergeant major was the type that was more interactive, and so he learned the mindsets of everyone. Because I didn't get my first degree until I was 40.
Wow.
Because I literally had it planted in my brain that I'm going in the Army for 4 years and everybody's going to want me. But he slapped us into reality.
Did that change your perspective? Because you still went in.
I still stayed in. I mean, we were already in at the time. The only thing it changed was my mindset with regard to how I was going to move forward. Because it can have a huge psychological effect on you.
What was the psychological effect for you that made you go from one branch of the military to the second?
The Air Force is not as aggressive as the Army. The Army, you train for the worst. You walking through swamps, you training in the desert, you carrying heavy rucksacks, you're doing all this exercises and training, whereby the Air Force is more so of the administrative branch. So I switched over and became an EMT. And I had my different experiences in the Army. I went to Fort Jackson to become a drill sergeant, and I, went through it, and I did not like the other side, so that didn't last long on me. When I say the other side, you mentioned earlier that you didn't like somebody yelling at you. I didn't like being the one that was doing all the yelling.
I got you. So you wind up staying in both branches of the military, and you come out. When did the movie part start to evolve in you? Was it something you always wanted to do, and you used the military as a way to help open up those opportunities for you?
I think it was always in me. It's kind of like Bubba Sparks says, I didn't choose to rhyme, rhyming chose me. It doesn't matter what I do or have done. It always evolves right back to something that has to do with producing movies, writing movies, doing plays. I am currently working on a theater complex. And the concept is, so for 6 years, I ran JB Starr's Playfest, where I would take would-be playwrights, take them through a series of workshops, and then I would provide everything for them: the facility, the lights, the sound, the marketing, the set pieces, the whole 9 yards, and have a weekend competition. Then I'd invite some of my celebrity friends to be my Randy Paula Simon type. I called it the American Idol of theater. And I helped a couple dozen new would-be playwrights blossom and get their play on stage where they otherwise would never have gotten an opportunity do it.
How did you wind up creating time to work on your craft? Because the military is demanding.
It is. It's very demanding, but um, time management, which is one of the things that I teach. You know,
Mm.
you hear people say, "Oh, you can't accomplish this or you can't do that because you don't have time for this." But if you were to really itemize your leisure time and time that you do things that people try to make themselves look busy, you
Right.
have a lot more time than you think.
How difficult was it for you to really pursue your career? Because I guess during that time period, there wasn't a lot of minorities really doing movie productions on a high level.
I didn't. The only difficulty that I find is financing and difficult people. When you have people, actors, actresses, when that come on set and want to know more than you or don't want to have that respect, even if they do. I worked with Sherman Hemsley, George Jefferson,
Hmm.
um, and we did a play together. And we performed in Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia.
Hmm.
In the play, Daddy Ain't No Power Like Prayer, I played his oldest son. Uh, and he walked up to me one day at rehearsal and he said, JB, he said, "You're the boss. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but you're a triple threat." And so, you know, man of 40 years in the business, tell you something, you listen. So I'm
Right.
listening, and he says, I think you're doing too much with regard to your set changes, because I had 9 set changes. We were actors were assigned to move this and change that and move this and go here. And he said, "You are a triple threat." He said, "You can write, direct, and act." He said,
Mm.
"Just tell the story."
Mm.
And from that point forward, I changed my philosophy and I had to think about it. What does he do? He's a sitcom, which stands for situation comedy. And they do
Hmm.
most of their scenes right there in that apartment. They're not changing every
Right.
other
Right.
time. So I'm thinking, wow, you know what? He's right. And so I had to change my philosophy, and it was effective. And then the second experience I had was more recent. I think it was in 2019 or 2020. You recognize the name Michael T. Williamson?
Yeah.
That's Bubba from Forrest Gump, tall guy, the brother.
Hmm.
We were on the set of the 24th, and he was Master Sergeant Hayes, and I was Private Jackson. And Kevin Wilmot, who was the director, award-winning director, he said, "Michael, what do you think about this scene right here? How do you think we should say this line?" And so everybody kind of tensed up a little bit because we know we're a platoon of us. No, it was a squad at the time. And he said, "Hell, you the director?" He said, "I'm gonna get paid no matter how I say it." He said, "I'm not here to tell you how to say the line. You tell me." And
Right.
so there was like 5 seconds of silence, and and Kevin said, "Okay, you're right." You know, but the thing about it, again, somebody who's been in the business that long is
Right.
that humble. You know,
Mm.
you can't help but embrace it.
You know, that is crazy. And you know what Sherman Hensley told you, now that I'm reflecting, because I grew up in that time frame to watching the Archie Bunkers and the Jeffersons and the Fred Sanfords. Everything was always shot in one location pretty much. You hardly ever seen them go off. And if they went off, it was to bring in another narrative of the 30-minute episode. You know what I'm saying? But you just made me think about something. You don't need a whole bunch of different sets to tell a story. You just
Yeah.
need to tell the story. What's more, who has been the most impactful celebrity that you've ran across outside of Sherman Hensley that gave you really vital information that allowed you to home in even deeper on your craft?
Wow. Let me see. Who would that be?
There's so many.
I've worked with several people. I would say, Tommy Ford from I got a job, y'all. Yeah, we worked together for a stretch, and he was so humble and personable. The very first day, and I don't know if you recognize Sharman Lee, short haired blonde that plays Maya's mom on Girlfriends.
Yeah.
This was the funny thing. When I walked in, I came in to do their sound, and then I eventually did some technical directing for them, and then we just started working together in different capacities and actors. You'll see Sharman and me in a scene together in closing statement. But at any rate, when I walked in, here she is, well known, great, wonderful actress. She's bringing me back and introducing me to Tommy as if like she's the go between. I'm like, wait a minute, why are you doing this? You just
Right.
again just to show the humility, how humble they are. Uh, Working with those guys, God, Tony Vaughn from Meet the Browns, the Colonel.
Yeah.
Uh, he's in The Will with me. He plays the mayor. Uh, God, I've worked take it way back. I've worked with Dottie Peoples. God, Casmay Barnes. There's a list of people that it's hard to say who influenced me the most.
You work with the late Angie
Because they all
Stone too. What was that like?
who?
Angie Stone. You work with her?
Oh, Angie. I talked to Angie about a week, about 5 days or so before her passing, about being in The Will, and it didn't materialize. But once again, I actually met Angie through Tommy
Wow.
on a set working with Mel Jackson. God, it was a host of those guys. We did this project together. But Angie was very humble,
Hmm.
very easy to talk to, easy to get along with. Um, did what we had to do, and just wasn't one of these prima donnas, drama filled. I enjoyed working with her.
You mentioned something. I hear this a lot from the actors and actresses and directors and producers that grace my show with their presence. The attitude of some of the actors and actresses and directors and so forth. How do you remove that from your set? Because I know a lot of times you're not going to know if you're not going to really know a person's character, but I'm more talking about when you bring in new actors and actresses and directors and project managers and so forth. How do you remove all the unnecessariness?
There's almost always going to be somebody that's going to buck the system and try you. But the most effective way that I have found in any environment, whether it's on set, in the military, in a classroom, I coached high school basketball, uh, is to put down your expectations up front, day one. This is who I am. This is what I expect. This is what I expect from you. This is what's going to happen if you don't comply with what I expect from you. And
Hmm.
put that in people's brains. And that has been the most effective thing. And there still have been some challenges.
Like
We
what?
deal with it case by case.
You said that with like a question mark. Like, what are you talking about?
Like, oh God, I want to remain as generic as possible. Uh, uh, that's not the. So as a director, if I were to say, listen, I don't want you to stand on that line. It's going to be more effective if you remain seated, you lean in, you pause for a second, and then you say your line.
Right.
Well, I think I need to stand up. I think, wait, I don't care what, or I wouldn't do it that way. I don't care. It's not about you. It's about the character and telling the story. And
Yeah.
so there's been a time or two when I have to say I'll do that.
What's the difference between the actors of today versus the actors of past?
God, I would have to say ego, respect. Yeah, actors of the past, they, and I say past as if they're all gone, but they're not all gone. But
Right.
they were just so much more humble. There's just these inflated egos in today's society across the board as a whole. It just makes for an uncomfortable atmosphere. It's just not harmonious.
Let's get right down to the meat and potatoes right now. 8 movies, full length movies. Let's start with The Will. What was the purpose behind that? What was its message and what led you to do that particular movie?
So ironically, the will, formerly known as Thy Will Be Done, I actually wrote that script for someone. There was a young lady, Angel Jackson, when I used to reside in Atlanta, who came to me through my little sister and said she wanted to be an actor. And she wanted me to help her out. So she asked me, did I have any projects coming up? So we did a couple of videos together. And then she said, I want to fight. I want to run. I want to do, and she's real feminine. And so it's always interesting when a feminine woman says she wants to do all of that because you don't expect it. You think they want to do dainty things.
Right,
And
right.
so I wrote that movie in her honor. And so this is actually a reshoot.
Let's go with the next one. Is it Abide? Did I get it right? Abide? The second
Ultimate
movie?
Alibi?
That's it,
Ultimate
Alibi.
Alibi.
Yeah. What was that about?
Yeah.
And what
Ultimate
brought that
Alibi
on?
that's my science fiction movie.
Man, you
When
just
I
got all kind
originally
of movies, don't you?
when I originally wrote that script, I tried desperately to get it in the hands of some literary agencies, and you get rejected because they have so many. They'll literally have a stack of scripts taller than their desk from the floor up. But if you don't have or do something that appeals to them, they're just going to throw them in the stack and keep it moving. Or unless you know somebody who knows somebody who can go directly to them. And so when I wrote that one, I put the biggest names that I could think of in the pitch deck, the breakdown, what they call it. And that caught their attention. But then creative differences came into play, and I said, you know what? I'll do it myself. And so I did.
How do you
And I
wind
do
up?
want to reshoot that movie. Reggie Freeman plays the mayor, who's a former military commander and still kind of carries his credentials as a police officer. So you got this mayor who is not afraid to break it out, and go after the criminals. And that was a fun movie. That was the first movie that Reggie and I did together back in 2018.
You mentioned something that I guess a lot of movie directors and people that's trying to get their stuff out. Um, what advice? No, not advice. What did you do that's different to make sure that your movies, especially 8 of them, got seen by the people that needed to see them, that makes the decision? What made yours get to the top of the list?
Well, that's the thing. You become the decision maker. You can only do what you can do and put it out there. And if
Mm,
people want to watch them, they will. If they don't, they won't. But the key is, if you do nothing, you will get nothing.
man, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Now, let's talk about the movie that you did with the late Angie Stone. What was the name of the movie, and what really brought that movie to light?
To love the soul of a woman. It was inspired by my book, To Love the Soul of a Black Woman, which centers around relationships, but not just because it's a relationship, because there's all kind of stuff that's out about relationships. The key was to appeal to whatever the personality of the woman is bringing to you, and to make women look at relationships more purposely, meaning you want a good man, you want a good life, but what are you doing to ready yourself for that good man and for that good life and for that good experience?
Wow. What was the reason that you picked Miss Stone to be in this particular role in this movie?
Availability, because we'd worked together before. I mean,
You
I'm
knew
just
she
keeping
was
it
going to show
real.
up.
We
Who
worked
did?
together before, and I know her cousin personally, and
Okay.
so you know who you know, a friend of a friend of a friend.
Was she your first choice?
I, I don't know. That was 10 years ago. She was my choice.
Okay. Okay.
So the thing about it is, sometimes we dream big instead of recognizing what's in front of us. Uh, like,
Right.
do you
Right.
follow football?
Oh, heck yeah. Dallas Cowboys, University of Miami. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, one of my friends slash relatives, um, Joe Thomas Sr., he set the record for being the oldest football player at USC to play at 55 years old. I don't know if
Really?
you, and his son played for Dallas for a hot minute.
Really?
Um, so Joe reunited us. Joe put me back together with Angie, because I hadn't seen Angie in some years.
The world, it's funny how the world works. One person knows somebody and knows somebody else. How important is networking, really
Oh
in
my
your field? How important is that?
God. You know, I got 3 words that's gonna bring it all to culmination. Andre the Beast. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. We're
Yeah.
networking, and I mean, who put me with you? Oh my God, Alan.
Oh, Alan Williams?
Yeah, Alan Williams. Alan, I know his aunt. We work together, and Alan. I tell you, Alan has stayed on me. Alan has probably been on me for the last 2 years at least to come on your show.
Really? And you know what?
I'm
Alan,
not exaggerating.
really, Alan is like out of all the people I know, I'm just calling it like it is. He is the biggest networker I've ever seen. And not just this is you can probably relate to this too, Dr. Brown. Not just networking in general, because a lot of times you don't want everybody don't clash for the full purpose. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Alan
Mm-hmm.
has a tendency to know who to put in your circle to help you and that individual align for the greater purpose. That's what I learned about Alan.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and he's very familiar with all the things that I do and have done. I produced a line dance song called Trail Ride.
Okay, look,
And
you didn't put all that on your resume. Now you put
I'll send it to you. I promise.
okay.
I'll send it over to you. But Alan, he every time I post something, Alan's like, "You need to get with so and so. You need to get with Andre the Beast, and you need, to, And I mean, he is never, never given up on me. I'll do a new. I think I've done 3 or 4 movies since I've known Alan, and he's constantly, yeah. I
Now,
think, what did he say? I'm trying to remember what he said about me. I think he said your consistency and your
yeah,
persistence, that you never stop, you never give up,
yeah.
something like.
That's that beast mindset, man. I love it when I think maybe you can answer this question. What is greatness? What does it take to be great in your in with your philosophy? What does it take to be great?
So it's for me, it's a combination of things. First of all, to not only it's one thing to be your best, but you have to stand out and be the best among the rest.
Hmm.
But consistency and persistence count for it all. See, so many people will stop when they fall,
Right.
but as long as you don't spell fall, FALL, as
Hmm.
long as you don't let that first L turn into an FAIL, you'll never fail. Because when you fall, if you can look up, you can get up and keep going.
How many times have you failed? Have you fallen? Because I think
God,
what
how many
happens is with
times?
people, with individuals that look for greatness, people say, "Wow, you like Alan was saying about you. You're the word here is consistency. You keep consistency, but people don't know the number of times or how many times you've fallen to get to consistency to get to the word greatness in your life."
Yes. Um, I think as long as, see, I'm a goal setter.
Oh,
And
that's a difference.
see, you set the goal, that's your destiny. Then you develop a plan, that's your method. But what happens so many times is just because a plan goes off track, people lose sight of the goal. You can change the plan several times as long as you keep your eye on the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my philosophy. I never take my eye off of the goal. And so I've fallen, God, I've probably fallen a dozen times. I spent
Right.
13 months homeless,
What?
no address of my own, sleeping in my office, sleeping in my cars, sleeping in the over garage, wherever, but to me, that's a stepping stone.
How did you pull out of that? I mean, that's a lot of people don't hear these stories. They see the success, but they don't hear the fallings that they had to endure to get back on track and to stay focused. And more importantly, it just go to show you going through all that, you never took your eyes off the goal. But how difficult, how hard was it to get back on track after being homeless and doing all these things that you had to do to get to where you're at now?
You don't allow yourself to get off track. It's psychological.
Mm,
Just because I was homeless didn't mean I was dead. Oh, homeless is not homicide. You know, I didn't have my own address. I did not have. I would sleep. I would be in a truck here, my truck, uh, on base somewhere. I mean, it was. Let me tell you something. I have spent days. This is the God's honest truth in public storage.
what?
I have taken, the light fixture that you can put in that's got the outlet, the plug. I've
Yeah.
taken the bulb out, screwed it in there, put my TV and VCR combination because this was let's see, it's 25. This was 12 years ago, and I hook it up and have me a little setup. and the whole 9 yards, and I'd be there chilling all day. Or I'd go to the library and I'd read all day about whatever you want to think about, aeronomics. Why is a tomato a fruit? What makes airplanes fly? Oh, just read all day. Yeah,
You
I had
know,
nowhere to go.
your story is really, really, really one of true beauty, you know, and definitely strength in that beast mindset, because with all that you've accomplished with even these setbacks is truly amazing. I'm not going to tell all your movies because I want the viewers to do their job and to read more about you and take the opportunity to do their own research. But with that said, what project are you working on now? Like what's in store for you right now?
Right now, I'm working on my, excuse me, I'm working on my theater complex. JB Starr's American Idol of Theater, combined with Poppy's first aid and anti-bullying pals. What Poppy does is teaches children first aid.
Mm-hmm.
And then they combine it with a dramatic presentation of anti-bullying concepts. And so they go through this 20-hour training, and at the end, they get a badge of honor. They have to
Mm-hmm.
sign a pledge. They get a certificate that says, I've completed first aid. And that pledge says, I will not be a bully. I will listen to my parents and the teachers and the authorities that were appointed over me. And then as they grow in the program, they become ambassadors.
Now, what made you decide to focus on bulliness when at one point of your life, you know, you was homeless and other little things, but why focus on bullying?
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share these little stories. I was bullied growing up
Okay.
because when all my all my other friends and classmates continued to grow, I didn't. So at around 5, 7, I stopped. And so I had to do other things to supplement, like study taekwondo. And so that's why you see in I think 3 of my movies, um, I don't use stunt guys. Those fight scenes, that's me for real.
Wow.
But at any rate, I remember this one particular situation where I was getting bullied by these 2 guys, and the humor comes in diction. So they would catch me and twist my arm, and they say your prayers. And where we grew up, you know, there were certain sayings that we would use, and they'd say your prayers. And I said, I don't know. They said, say them. I said, I don't know. And they'd say our Father. And I said, our Father. And so if you know the Lord's Prayer is which art in heaven,
Right.
but they would say, reach out in heaven. And I was like, if they say them, our Father, reach out in heaven. I reach out in heaven. Be thy name. No, but instead of saying hallowed be thy name, we say hardly say his name. And so one day I managed to break away from him, and I got to running. Man, I was getting it, boy. I was putting it. But all you seen was elbows and
Right.
and one of them was faster than the other one, short and stocky, and the other one was tall and slim. And he caught me by my left shoulder and spent me around. Beast, I hit that dude so hard. I spun around. I hit him so hard that his butt was on top of his head when he rolled back. I
That's
looked
a
at the
serious
other one.
thriller.
That's for real. I should put it in a scene. I looked at the other one. He looked at me, and we remain nameless because I still remember their names.
Okay.
He ran one way, and I ran the other way, but they never bothered me a day again after that.
Really? And did you see him throughout your life at that particular point after
We
the
were
altercation?
classmates.
What?
We were classmates, yeah, but they never bothered me again a day after that. And this was, I think I was the sixth grade, I want to say, sixth, seventh grade, somewhere around in there. Yeah, right there in Barnwell Elementary School.
But you know what's so
I remember it
you know
clearly.
what's so profound is years later, you still remember that particular trauma in your life that you did not want to see repeated in this generation, that it needed to be addressed, because a lot of people who probably went through those things at such a young age, they still keep it what I call skeletons in the closet, and they don't come out and really talk about it for whatever reasons. But let's go back a little bit before we wrap up. Let's talk about the 8 movies. That's a lot of movies. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on the PhD at the age in which you got it. Congratulations. No, my hat's off to you for serving this country, not only in one aspect of the military, but taking your time to do it in both. 8 movies. Give me your 3 favorite and why.
My 3 favorite would have to be the current The Will, because of growth. Ultimate Alibi, because of the genre and what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And To Love the Soul of a Woman, because the strength of what it's about. I play the role of an abused boyfriend. My character fought and killed in Bosnia, martial arts expert, but when it comes to this younger woman, this girl, she beats my butt and I just take it. Yeah.
So you play the role of a domestic violence victim in the relationship, but you're a man.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's deep. What made you decide to do that? That's interesting, because a lot of men don't talk about that, and I know it exists. I know it exists. I was in a situation like that, so I know it exists, but we don't talk about it. But what made you decide to bring that to light, especially being a man of color?
I was at work one night years back and personally witnessed a heavy-set girl. And I say girl, she was probably 22, 23, young lady. And I guess her boyfriend, I'm guessing he was her boyfriend, but he was slim, like he probably was $115. And she was just slapping him around right in the parking lot. Like, and cussing him out and going off on her, and you shouldn't, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, but damn, dude. And I'm thinking, even though he's slim, and not to let my mind drift off into violence, but I'm thinking, if he was to turn around and pop her, he's a man. It would probably hurt. And I don't promote violence. I don't promote domestic violence and men beating on women. But if you're gonna sit there and you're gonna whoop my butt, I might have to wake you up.
Yeah.
So and from there, I don't know, the thoughts just started flowing. And you're gonna find this hard to believe, but it takes me, I've written 19 scripts, so I still have several to do, to promote, to produce. But on average, it takes me less than 2 weeks to write a script.
Wow. That particular movie of you portraying a man that's been domestically abused in a relationship, what was the feedback on that?
Well, the feedback was phenomenal, because that was my first distribution deal. And Maverick Entertainment originally put it on their YouTube channel, and it just started stopping, and I couldn't keep up with it. Comments were just rolling in. Oh my God, Maverick, great movie, blah, 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 blah. And now it's on over 50 platforms.
And they can watch it on the I Am Beast platform coming soon. All your movies will be on the I Am Beast network platform as well. With that said, how can the viewers reach out to you, follow you, support you, and even have you come and speak? Because you're a great speaker.
Oh, well, jbstarpresents.tv. That's my primary website, jbstarpresents.tv. All of the social medias, JB Star, JB Brown, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yes.
What can do me a favor, Dr. Brown? First of all, let me say thank you for coming on the show, and I give shouts out to Alan Williams, one of the greatest networkers that I've seen in quite some time, for bringing us together. Leave the viewers with what keeps you going. Like, if you had to leave words of inspiration to keep people hopes up and keep that beast mindset, like clearly what you have, what will it be for the viewers?
So, if it's okay for me to share in a different way,
You can do whatever you like. You can do whatever you like.
Okay, I was having lunch one day about maybe 6 years ago with a very close friend of mine, Bishop Redfern Deuce. In fact, he plays the millionaire in the movie.
Oh.
And we were having lunch one day, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "Jerome, I have never seen you upset." He said, people lie to you, people steal from you, cheat, he said, "I've just never seen you upset." And I said, "The reason why, Bishop, is because one word you just said." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "People." I said, "People don't control my destiny. God controls my destiny." Now, when God starts cheating, lying, stealing, betraying me, you might see me get upset, but I refuse to give people that kind of power over me.
Right. Man, that's beautifully said. That's beautifully said. Doc, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, share such a beautiful story of inspiration, overcoming, and definitely strong empowerment. Definitely want you to come back. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, and follow him. Make sure you watch his new content and his old content on the I Am Beast website. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.